Ige. The few months I've spent with you have proven to me that you are the one for me. Your smile gives me life, and all I want is to spend the rest of my life with you. I love you so much, more than the ant loves honey. I want you in my life for the rest of my days. Ige to be me. Please, do me the honor of being my wife. Alade said. Getting to her room, she found her daughter lying still on the bed, calling her name repeatedly with no response. She moved closer and touched her. To her horror, Wura's body was cold and stiff. Realizing her daughter was gone, Madame Agnes was overcome with grief. She screamed Wura's name, her cries echoing through the house. Desperately, she tried to revive her, but her efforts were in vain. She rushed Wura to the hospital, but the doctors could not bring her back to life. At the hospital, gazing at her daughter's lifeless body, Madame Agnes blamed herself. I wished I had listened to you and your dreams, my baby. You would have still been by my side, smiling as usual. She wept, her heart breaking. As she wept, a sudden anger erupted within her. Consumed by grief and guilt, she became desperate for revenge. Her mind turned to Ige. The seeds of doubt and suspicion planted by Wura's nightmares began to take root, and Madame Agnes, desperate for someone to blame, set her sight on Ige. Madame Agnes left her daughter's body in the hospital and hurried back home. Her mind racing with a whirlwind of emotions, she flung the door open and began to call out for Ige with a voice that echoed through the house like a desperate cry for salvation. Ige! Ige! Where are you? Come outside now! She searched the entire house, her shouts growing louder and more frantic. But Ige was nowhere to be found. Where could she be? She thought. Oh, she knew what she has done and decided to run away? You can't go scot-free. You will pay for what you have done. Madame Agnes was destabilized, her mind teetering on the edge of sanity. Yet, she was resolute in her quest for revenge. She broke down in tears, wishing fervently for her daughter's resurrection. But when Ige returned from the market, her thoughts turned dark. Ige, who had gone to buy fresh vegetables for Madame Agnes's favorite soup, walked into the house feeling excited. As she knelt to greet Madame Agnes, she was met with a heavy slap that almost knocked her off balance. Shocked and disoriented, Ige held her cheek, tears welling up in her eyes. Madame Agnes burst into tears, her voice trembling with anguish. Is it bad to help? Was I wrong to have helped you? You this useless evil child. I caused the day I met you. What have I done to deserve this evil paper from you? Ige, why? Why did you take away my baby girl? Otipamilopo? Ige stood before her, confused and heartbroken. Mommy, what have I done? I don't understand you. I didn't kill anyone. She replied, her voice shaking with fear and sorrow. Shut your dirty mouth. You won't go free. I promise you. You won't go scot-free. Evil child. Madame Agnes spat, her words laced with venom. Without another word, she locked Ige inside the house and hurried to the police station. Ige fell to the ground, weeping profusely, her heart heavy with despair. At the station, Madame Agnes reported a murder, and the police followed her home to arrest Ige. She was detained at the police cell and faced relentless interrogations. Hey you, what did you do to your madam's daughter? Why did you kill her? Why? One of the police inspectors demanded, but Ige steadfastly maintained her innocence. I didn't kill anyone, sir. I don't know anything about all this. I'm innocent, sir, please. You don't want to confess, right? Don't worry. When you face serious torture, you will confess, said the inspector. Madame Agnes instructed the police to torture Ige until she confessed. But no amount of pain could make Ige admit to a crime she didn't commit. Furious and desperate, Madame Agnes pressed to charge Ige in court, presenting her daughter's dreams as evidence. The police, listening to Madame Agnes's claims, felt ashamed for detaining an innocent girl over dreams. Madam, we don't operate here by dreams or thoughts. We operate on proofs and evidence. We will discharge the girl now and let her go her way. You can return when you have a physical proof, they told her. Enraged, Madame Agnes tried to bribe the police, offering a huge sum of money to keep Ige detained. Her plan worked, and the police promised to keep Ige in the cell indefinitely. From that day onward, Madame Agnes's trust in people shattered. She stopped extending help and lived the rest of her life regretting not listening to her daughter. In the cell, Ige suffered immensely. Powerless and alone, she wished she could fly away like a dove. She remembered the love of Iyaoba, the woman who had always cared for her, and wished she had never left the orphanage. Meanwhile, in the village, Iyaoba experienced strange dreams. Her sleep plagued by unsettling visions. She felt something was wrong with Ige. Every morning, she began making powerful declarations upon Ige before eating or talking to anyone. Iyaoba continued her daily morning declarations until a sense of peace washed over her. Back in the cell, Ige grew more frustrated and depressed. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, wishing for a peaceful life filled with love and kindness. One evening, a policeman came to her cell. Hey, look here. Go and take your mother and your God. You are not meant to live here. The plan was to jail you for life. But right now, we just have to let you go. But hear me clearly. Ensure you leave this town completely if you don't want to return here or die. Now, find your way out of this place. The policeman in charge of her case couldn't find peace since the day they collected the bribe to jail her indefinitely. They felt a strong guilt for holding onto an innocent child, so they decided to let her go. It was already dark and Ige had nowhere to go. She decided to stay at the taxi park, hoping to catch a ride back to her village the next day. She spent a restless night at the park, eagerly waiting for the next morning, but it seemed the night was longer than expected. Her spirit already in the village with Iyaoba before her body. When morning finally came, she looked for a taxi back home, but was told the previous day was the market day, so she had to wait for the next market day. Fearful of staying in town any longer, she decided to take the first available taxi to wherever it was going. She was lucky to find some money inside her pockets. It was the leftover she had from the market the morning she was arrested. Using the leftover money, she paid her fare and bought some food. After a long journey, she arrived in a bustling city, overwhelmed by the sheer number of people. The people around were too busy to pay attention to her. She wandered around, looking for a place to rest her head. Just like the other town, she found an abandoned building to rest in. The next day, she began looking for jobs, but no one would hire her. Desperate to survive, she returned to Portridge. working tirelessly to feed herself. The harshness of city life wore her down as people shouted at her and sometimes refused to pay her for her work. She had countless injuries while running around to get customers, but the pain were nothing to be compared with the risk of staying hungry. Injured and exhausted, Ige struggled to keep going, her spirit unbroken despite the relentless hardships. At the city, it seemed like there were more porters than customers who needed them. Everyone ran around, jostling to get customers and make money for the day. It was a survival of the fittest. Slowly, Ige began to learn their hasty mode of operation, and soon she started getting a few customers each day. Sometimes she received tips from her customers, while other times she struggled to manage the little she earned. One evening after work, as Ige was returning home, the driver of the taxi she boarded decided to give her a free lift without asking for fare. Ige was elated at his kind gesture because she hadn't made much money that day. The taxi driver, named Alade, was a kind man well known among his transport union. He had been driving for several years and was reputable for his kindness and good conduct among his colleagues. Sometimes his colleagues would even tease him for not being a womanizer and for being too kind, telling him that excessive kindness never took people far and that those who were too kind often ended up being used by many. But kindness was Aladdin's true nature, and he couldn't do anything to alter it. That day, Aladdin and Ige got talking, and during their conversation, when he learned that Ige was an orphan, he felt really sorry for her and decided to always give her a free ride to and from the market every day. Ige was very much elated at his kindness and thanked him. Just as promised, Aladdin began fulfilling his promise to Ige. They both drove to and from the market every day, slowly finding comfort in each other's company. During their leisure time and weekends, they would meet and have fun together. With Aladdin's compassion and care towards her, Ige began to see a beautiful side of human nature. Unlike everyone else who had treated her badly and made her feel unwanted, Aladdin made her feel wanted all the time. He would tell her how much he missed her and how he couldn't do without her. One day, during one of their usual dates, they got into a deeper discussion and Aladdin found out that she had been living in an uncompleted building. He felt extremely bad. How could a young girl like you be living in such a building? That's too dangerous. Ige, aren't you afraid? This is a city and so many bad things happen here. There are louts who go around harming people, he said, his voice filled with compassion. Immediately, he offered Ige a place to stay with him. She was hesitant at first because she didn't feel right living with a man. But Aladdin persuaded her, assuring her of her safety. You don't have to fear or worry about anything. You are safe with me. I can't do you any harm. After much consideration, she decided to move in with Aladdin. They continued going out and returning together as usual. Ige maintained a good demeanor, taking good care of the house and preparing sumptuous meals for him. Aladdin admired her hard work and resilience. He knew there was something beautiful and special about her. Slowly, he began to notice his love for her. After about 6 months of living together, Aladdin took the bold step to confess his love for Ige. He took her to see a stage drama. While they watched the drama, Alade kept admiring the beautiful smile on her face. He knew their union would be blessed and peaceful. After the drama, as they were set to return home, Alade decided to make his confession inside the car. Ige, a child with 200 stars. Alade began, taking the special time to sing a praise poetry. Being a bridge child with a unique name, tradition also accorded such special children with a special praise poetry. It was the first time Ige had anyone sing her praise poetry. It felt like heaven to her. Every line of the praises gave her goosebumps, making her feel freshly born into the world. As she listened to him recite, her joy knew no bounds, and she smiled sheepishly. After the recitation, Alade went further to propose to her. Ige, the few months I've spent with you have proven to me that you are the one for me. Your smile gives me life, and all I want is to spend the rest of my life with you. I love you so much, more than the ant loves honey. I want you in my life for the rest of my days. Ige, please do me the honor of being my wife, Alade said, his voice full of emotions echoing the waves of love. Ige was surprised at his confession of love. She never saw it coming, thinking Alade had just been nice and cared for her as his sister. Even though she knew she felt the same way towards him, Ige was too scared of losing him just as she had lost all those who were close to her. She decided to turn down his proposal to avoid narrating her ugly stories to him. Unfortunately, marriage is the least on my mind now. See, I came all the way from my village seeking a better life in the city. I'm very far from the better life I seek. Going into marriage now could deter my pursuits. I don't have a good job at hand. I am just an ordinary reporter, and that is never what I want for my life. I am so sorry to ruin this day, but I can't accept your proposal. Ige replied. It's fine. I understand you. Maybe I should give you some time to think about it then, he replied. Alade felt extremely disappointed. He never imagined she would turn him down. The both continued living together as usual, and Alade never stopped being kind towards her. He cared for her and made her feel comfortable. A few months later, their feelings crossed one innocent evening, and from that day, they began to warm each other's bed. Alade introduced her to his colleagues and friends as his wife, and everyone celebrated their union. Since Ige claimed she had no family members, Alade never bothered to pay her dowry. Through their continuous cohabitation, they joined themselves together and pronounced themselves husband and wife. Just about 3 months into their self-acclaimed marriage, things began to take a different turn for Alade. His work began to experience unexplainable hiccups, and he could barely cater for himself and his wife. He tried everything within his power to experience a change, but all his efforts continually hit a hard rock. One fateful afternoon, while at the park having a usual conversation with his colleagues, he mentioned his ordeal to them and they began to troll him. You saw an unknown girl who claimed to have no family and you decided to make her your wife. What do you expect? One said. Don't mind him. I guess he was expecting some sort of breakthrough just like that. Another added. Alade was disappointed at them, blaming his beloved wife for his ordeal. He got angry and warned them never to speak badly about his wife again. She's bad luck to you. The earlier you give yourself a brain, the better, one added, and they all laughed at him. Alade felt displeased and blamed himself for telling them about his ordeal. He vowed never to mention it to them again. Days and weeks passed and things continually worsened for him. All his efforts to make ends meet were fruitless. They became so broke that Ige, who had stopped being a porter, had to resume so they could manage to feed themselves. Alade's vehicle became a source of trouble. The vehicle developed unending mechanical problems. Even after fixing it, it would develop another issue after a few days. This made him spend the little money he earned on fixing the car since it was their major source of income. The troubles worsened, causing him great worries. He was broken and depressed, and gradually his health was affected. He became so sick that he couldn't walk anymore. Alade, who had never been sick or visited a hospital for any treatment, found himself so sick and helpless. He got really worried. This can't be happening to me. What's wrong with me? I rarely get sick. Even if I do, it's just a minor headache that disappears after taking ample rest. This doesn't feel normal. This is strange, he thought within himself. When he noticed the sickness was eating deep into his body and he had no money to visit the hospital, nor were the herbs he took responsive to his condition, he began to recall all that his friends had said about Ige. For the first time, he began to reason along with his friends. What if they are right about this? Of course, this is really strange and a big sign of bad luck. Just within 8 months of marrying her, and everything went downhill. This is a bad omen. It's not making sense at all. That day, it took much time to take stock of his life, analyzing from the time he never knew Ige to the present time they started cohabiting. He then noticed that things only began to fall apart from the time they started sleeping together. Immediately, he got angry in his spirit and was ready to get to the root of his problem. Alade, who had been caring and understanding with his wife, now grew aggressive. He began to get angry at every single thing. The love he once professed for her had now turned sour. Ige, on the other hand, couldn't fathom the sudden change in his attitude. She felt his lack of money could be the reason, so she remained calm, hoping for a turnaround in their marriage. A month went by, and Alade only grew worse. He tried everything to frustrate her, so she would get angry and leave the house. But Ige chose to remain calm. When he saw that all his efforts to send her out were abortive, he decided to make her life more miserable. One cold evening after work, Ige returned home with a smile as usual. She had a little foodstuff with her to make dinner. She met her husband, who was sicker than she had left him. She felt sorry for him and tried to console him. How do you feel now? Have you taken the herbs? Which useless herbs are you talking about? For days now, I've been taking those herbs, but no response. Rather, my situation has worsened, he replied aggressively. But honey, please don't say that. You'll be fine. Let's just trust and be hopeful, she said, trying to calm him. Keep quiet and get out of my sight, you witch. You think I don't know who you are? You have succeeded in bringing bad luck upon my life, he said. Honey, how could you say such? I'm only trying to help, she replied, almost in tears. Help my foot. Who are you? Who are your parents? Nobody. No wonder you call yourself an orphan without any traceable relatives. You just crept into my life with a story and brought bad luck upon my life, he said. Ige couldn't hold back her tears. She cried and wondered if someone could have poisoned his mind against her. But who could have done such? She had no other friends except him. A month went by, and Alade only grew worse. He tried everything to frustrate her, so she would get angry and leave the house. But Ige was unyielding. The thought of packing out wasn't even in her mind. When Alade couldn't take it anymore, he decided to send her packing. "Woman, I can't continue with this thing between us anymore. You've only brought in so much pain and anguish into my life. Please, pack your things and leave here now." Ige received the shock of her life. She never had thought that her beloved husband could send her out of his house. "But why? What have I done? Why?" she asked, her voice filled with so much pain and worries. "Why are you asking me silly questions? Isn't it obvious that you have brought in bad luck to my life? Is it until I die before you leave?" Shocked and perplexed, she realized Alade wasn't different from all others who had accused her of being evil and deadly. She summoned the courage and immediately packed out of his house. Ige was back to square one. She wandered the whole city looking for a place to rest her head, but found none. At night, she resolved at sleeping in the market. Every night, she would take her sleeping position in front of people's shop. Fortunately, things began to change for Alade. His health recovered quickly and his transport business began to bounce back, while Ige continued struggling. One day, while doing her usual job, she helped a customer carry her load from the market to the park where she would take a bus home. As soon as the woman paid her, Ige turned to catch up with another customer and accidentally brushed against a young man. "I'm sorry, sir, please, I'm sorry." She apologized and hurried away. The young man, Toba, turned back and continued to look at her. He experienced something strange, something he had never felt before. As he kept looking at her, his inner eyes opened and he began to see things that physical eyes couldn't perceive. He saw a thick cloud of darkness following Ige. Suddenly, he began to hear a deep baritone voice speaking to him. "Go after her. Go after her." Toba tried everything to silence the voice, but the more he tried, the louder it grew. Frustrated and on the verge of madness, he hurriedly ran to a quiet corner of the market, hoping for peace, but the voice only grew louder. Toba was an ordinary man with no knowledge of spiritual powers. This encounter was his first of its kind, and he was confused about how to deal with it. While still trying to make sense of the strange happenings, he began to hear clearer voices warning him, "Go and save her, or you will regret your disobedience." This sentence kept ringing in his ears. Toba tried to defend himself. "But she has gone. I can't find her," he grumbled. "Go into the market. I will direct you," the voice replied. Toba was shocked to hear a reply from the voice again. He began to have conversations with the voice. He forced himself to obey, and the voice led him to Ige. When he found Ige, Toba began to speak. "What should I do with her now?" he asked, and the voice took over, speaking through his mouth. "Young lady, your problem is immense. If you don't do something about it, you may be completely destroyed." Ige stood there, looking at Toba with eyes filled with curiosity. The voice led them to a quiet place away from the market noise and began a deep manifestation. "Ige Adupi, a child with 200 stars," the voice began. Ige was shocked that he knew her name without being told. "You are a child with a great destiny, but Many things have been altered in your life right from your mother's womb. That is why your mother died immediately after your birth. She carried you for 9 months and died after delivery. Your father also died 9 months after your birth. Families deserted you while you were little. You were abandoned at an orphanage, and some who adopted you also died after 9 months. Ige, who had never heard the full story of her life, was dumbfounded. She listened carefully to Toba, still in shock. Everyone who liked you and helped you ended up suffering from the enchantments and divinations working against you. You are a cursed child. This is why nobody wants you. Iyaoba only escaped the curse because the destinies of the children in her orphanage secured her life. Madam Agnes wanted you to die or rot in jail because of her beloved Wura's death. But Iyaoba's heartfelt prayers saved you from death. Wura should have been saved if Madam Agnes had listened to her daughter and sent you out. But she loved you dearly and had compassion on you, which eventually led to Wura's demise. Even Alade is a very good man and he loved you dearly, but he realized you brought him pain and might end up dead, so he sent you out of his house to preserve his life and business. The voice revealed all the hidden secrets of her life from birth to the present day. Toba remained still, letting himself to be used by the voice. Ige, upon hearing all that Toba had narrated, felt broken. She pitied all the innocent lives affected by her curse. She wept and pleaded with Toba to help her out of the mess. You have said everything about me without even knowing me. Sir, please help me out. Don't let me die with this curse. This pain is too much. Nobody wants me and nothing is working for me. Please help. She begged, sobbing. If you take a stock of your life, you will realize that most occurrences happen every 9 months. You are under a powerful 9-month interval curse bestowed upon you from your father's house since your conception. This is what you must do. For the next 9 days and nights, you will use your mouth to redesign your destiny. The power behind your case was orchestrated through words, and you must use your mouth to avert every evil word spoken against you. For the next 9 days, wake up early every morning and make powerful declaration upon your life. Do it every morning before eating or speaking with anyone, and do it every night before sleeping. If you miss a day, you may remain cursed for life. Ige received the instruction with an open mind. She thanked Toba for everything and went her way. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like, comment, share this video and subscribe to this channel. Click the notification bell to get notified when we drop the third part of this story. Thank you for watching. Till we see in the next video. Bye.